All right. Hey, parents, and welcome to this week's episode of Shaping Arrows. My name is Brant Gordon, and on Shaping Arrows each week, we talk about things that are quick encouragements and how-tos to making disciples in your home. So that means whether you have a kid that's maybe 2 years old and learning to really what it looks like to actually live in this world, to a teenager that is also in a very different stage of life, learning what it looks like to live in this world. We're excited that you're here. Thank you for tuning in this week. We're excited this week to have Tanner Hogue, who is our middle school and Route 56 students director, with us. Tanner's got 3 kids of his own, and so he is in the parenting world himself. And he's going to share with us a little bit about what does it look like to help your student, to help your kid win this summer. A lot of times summer can seem like a wasted time, but we don't want to waste any time. We want to redeem all of it. And so as parents, I know you want this for your kids. We're excited to have Tanner here with us. Tanner, as we kind of get started, tell us an interesting or funny story as it relates to your summers growing up.
Yeah, I'd love to. Excited to be here, man. I love this topic of summer. So when I think back to summer, when I was a teenager, I was one of those guys who didn't get my license right when I could. And me and my brothers were always stuck at the house. Both my parents worked. So shout out to y'all out there, always getting rides. And my grandma was taking us to practices all the time. Okay. And one time, it was a pretty big baseball game, and like I had an opportunity to start, and my grandma showed up late, took me to the game late, and my coach ripped into me and was like, "How could you be late? All this stuff." I'm like, "I can't throw my grandma under the bus, man. It don't even sound true. Like it just sounded." So I just sat there on the bench. He didn't play me. I just moped, and I was like, "What are you gonna do? Can't throw grandma under the bus." So
Well, that's summertime, right?
summertime, man. That's what we do.
That's funny, man. Man, I don't have any throw grandma under the bus stories, so I'll hold off on any stories because they
Too
can't
good for
top that. So,
That's right.
man, what's a couple resources that you would say, hey, parents, as you think about summer regarding your teenagers, regarding your kids, here's a couple resources to think about or read through.
Yeah, first thing I'll say before I give my resource is just that I would really encourage parents, like, the world is telling our students that the summer is all about them. It's their version of retirement, and it happens every year. 2 months, just do what you want, and it's all about you, and you get the opportunity to see what your kid really loves, to see during the 10 months when they're busy and stuff, what they really care about reveals itself in the summer. So the resource I think is just an awesome book. It's called Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper. This book is incredible because it aims for your kids' imagination. It aims for your kids' heart. It aims for what they really long for. Pastor Andrew has referenced a cool example from that book a few times in sermons. And it really, I think it's a great one if you have an older student, even a kid could read it and understand. And it will start great conversation. The second resource, can I say Ephesians 2:10? It's just a Bible verse.
That's still a
I,
resource. It's a great
that,
resource.
that's a great resource. It says that it's right after saying, by grace you were saved through faith. So not your own doing, a gift of God. And then 2:10 says, for you were created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. And it's important that we help our student understand that the direction of their life and the good works that they're planning and seeking matter to God. He purchased them for that, not just to do what they want and be nice while doing it, but to really have a new direction and a new purpose. And that's part of what the gospel has acquired for us, not just salvation in a vacuum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man, I love that. I think reminding our kids that every moment that we have here is meant for something.
Yeah.
It's meant for God's glory. And man, I love that, man. Just getting into the Word and just saying, hey, like, child, you are a child of God, and that gives you purpose, and every moment counts.
Yeah, totally.
And that's great. That's great. So, man, what's one action step, one or two action steps that you would say, hey, parents, you're here. We're starting summer here. We're midsummer, I guess, at this point. And man, if you're a parent, this is something that you can take and you can actually implement today.
Yeah, I love this question. I think whether I had a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old, I would implement like a family planning each week, and you can do it at a different Sunday. It doesn't really matter, but For the younger ones, what you're doing, let's say you're visiting their grandma on Thursday, and it's saying, hey, what are we doing on Thursday? Building that excitement and anticipation. And then it's like, okay, well, like, how can we serve Nana? Like, how can we pray for Nana? How can we write her a note? How can we bring something? And really what you're doing is teaching them that the summer is not something we own to build our own kingdom. It's something we leverage to build God's kingdom. And for our students, we have to have that conversation of like, hey, what do you have planned this week? Oh, you've got swim practice. Oh, you've got some of these different things. How are you the initiator as a child of God, as a servant, serving your friends, your teammates? So it's not a complete military overhaul of their schedule. It's just as a family becoming intentional and thinking together about how to leverage that for God's glory. I think that is an awesome tool. Whether you've done it a million times or you've never done it, I would highly encourage that.
Man, that's great. That's great. I think helping our kids, helping our students to understand, again, man, what are you here for? And then giving them, like, helping them see ahead of time. I mean, that's a huge part of this, is like helping us to see ahead of time what we can be doing, proactively, rather than reactively saying, oh, wasted that week, or wasted that month, or I've wasted my whole summer.
That's
is
right.
Being proactive on that through planning, and as parents speaking in to help, not just what we kind of talked about earlier, is being reactionary to what your student wants to do or what your kid wants to do, but you actually taking the lead in that.
And I would even argue the older they get, the more tempting it is to let them just drive it and to not help them and not recognize, like, you're still shaping their view of what it means to be a child of God. The world is telling them the more freedom they get, the more they're going to tell you what their week is. And you just bless it, you're still there to help them and to love them and to come alongside them and to encourage them when they've got an awesome week planned, So I think it's huge, and I think we can't underestimate that the world is telling them, do what you want for 2 months, especially once they can drive and some of those things. So, yeah, I think that even thinking about this question, I was like, I need to start doing that with my son, talking about our week. So.
Yeah, man, I think it can look different at different ages, but I think we've got to realize as parents, like, we are always there until our kids leave the house. Like, we are always there to really set the pace.
That's right.
For that,
right.
before we send them out. And so, man, I love that. So parents, I hope you got something out of this. I know I did. Tanner, I really appreciate the time and the insight that you've offered to us today as we think about really redeeming the time. It talks about that in James, redeeming the time that we have in terms of the summer months, and using them for the glory of God. And so parents, I hope it was a blessing to you guys. I would, ask you, like, what are your summer plans? We encourage you. Would love for you to share in the comments below. We would love to interact with you guys on what you guys are doing this summer, what maybe plans have worked really well, maybe what plans have just flopped, so that we can learn from one another in the process of this as we grow as parents. I'd also encourage you, if this has been a blessing to you, if this has been helpful to you, I would encourage you to share it with somebody that you feel like this would benefit. Maybe sharing on social media platforms would allow this to be able to get in front of more parents that would be able to be blessed by, again, quick encouragement, quick how-tos that we could offer every week, specifically this week as we think about redeeming your summer and redeeming your kids' summer. Parents, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Shaping Eras.